Welcome back, Nick Lenz Comic Corner, classic slash non-classic. This is episode number 338 and Doubleshot number 267. Okay, first up is Captain America, Sam Wilson, Volume 2, Standoff, collecting, Issue 7 and 8 of the Captain America Sam Wilson series, along with Avengers Standoff, Alpha, and Omega. I should point out that pretty much this series is basically during the event Standoff. I'll talk more about Standoff when I get a chance to do the trade that does the entire crossover. But one thing I got to admit for this particular crossover, this crossover was really damn good. I read everything related to this crossover. And now, Nick Spencer writes a good chunk of this thing. But here's the thing. Issue 7 was noteworthy for celebrating the 75th anniversary of Captain America last year. And what they did was have the issue 7 be double-sized. I mean, noteworthy thing is that you have Steve Rogers going young. Yeah, that was kind of leaked a little before that, but it was kind of nice to see that. But one thing I should also point out in issue 7, that there are in fact a few stories in here. Yes, there are at least 3 backup stories in the actual main thing. Yes, there are in fact 3 of them. The first one's called Presentation, and you're not gonna believe who the writer and artist are for this thing. It's the writer. It's the duo who started the Astonishing X-Men series back in 2004, Joss Whedon and John Cassaday. Yeah, which is actually the first time these two have actually, when they did this thing, this was the first time I've seen. This is the first time they've done anything together since their run for Astonishing X-Men. A run that lasted for 3 years, even though they had published 24 issues and a giant-size special, a giant-size thing. Mainly the reason why that was, it took 3 years to publish 24 issues, is because Joss Whedon decided to switch the book from being monthly to bi-monthly. Because apparently he was getting overworked, because he's also the director as well. But the story Presentation is a great story. It's a story that's set in World War II, with Captain America wearing his look that he wore during the Captain America comics back in the 1940s, where his helmet actually just barely covers his face. Yeah, that's how he looked. And here's something also interesting, though. He's carrying this particular shield. Now, he only wore this, he only carried this with him for the first couple issues of the comic Captain America comics. With issue 3, he switched to the popular circular shield that he's noteworthy for having. After this event, he got himself pretty much the same type of shield, except the shield can split in half, which is great. It's just a great World War II story of him battling the Nazis. Yeah, it's great. The second story is, and you're not going to believe this, it's called Catch Me If You Can, and it's written and drawn by Tim Sale. I'm like, Tim Sale? Wow. Yeah, and later on he did Captain America White. Awesome miniseries. I can't wait to get my hands on the trade for it. Third story is Catch Me If You Can is, simply put, a story of Captain America battling Hydra agents in these wonderful panels done by Tim Sale. These panels are great. Yeah, him also finding some treasures, and it's actually a really nice story. Now, the last story is Pas de Deux, done by Greg Rucka and Mike Perkins. I've actually met Mike Perkins. He's a really good artist. He recently did Deathlock, and the Deathlock series, which ended last year. And of course, he's doing Carnage, which is ending this month. I think it's ending in a couple weeks. Now, this story is a story set. Also, this one is set prior. It's kind of like a crime new. It's kind of like a it kind of feels like a story that could have been used for the Sandman as well, because it's in New York City. It's Marvel Comics. Everything is set in New York City for some strange reason. Maybe because Stan Lee's from there. Yeah, it just basically, the whole story is Steve Rogers going to a theater to see a play, and of course battling a bunch of bad guys. It's a really nice story, and that's the thing when it comes to that particular issue. I mean, now when this issue came out, the Marvel charged $5 for it because it was a double-sized issue. Now, when you have a book that's $5 and it's double-sized, that is a good reason why, because the book is double-sized. Not just because, oh, it's the first issue, so let's just charge $5 on it. Now, I personally didn't buy the issue at that point. I do own a couple issues of this particular series. It is by far a great series to read. And I do highly recommend it. The series itself is selling pretty well from what I've heard. As of late last year, they were selling 60,000 issues a month, which is pretty decent. I gotta hand it to this series. It's actually not that bad. Both this and the series that basically spun off of this one, which is Captain America Steve Rogers, a series that still publishes very day, which as of now, it's actually caught up to how many issues this series has published. Let's see. The current amount this series has published is, let's see if I can look it up here. I have to open up I have documents all over the place in my career. This series so far, as a matter of fact, an issue come out just this particular week, was issue 17, which dealt with Rage. Now, he's probably going to be in the next trade for this thing, but this by far, we also have various different artists on here as well, aside from Nick Spencer. Now, the Alpha one-shot, Jesus Saez, I think that's to pronounce the person's name. He just does the opening one shot. The prelude was done by Mark Bagley, which is really good. Issue 7. Now there are 3 settings. There's Angel Unanza, Daniel Kuna, who actually is a pretty good artist, and I don't have a problem with this guy's artwork. Like some people do have a problem with his artwork. Like his artwork didn't fit. I think it was too dark. I think this guy basically is good to doing espionage type stories, like when he did Checkmate. His artwork fit great with the series, and it fits great with Captain America. It's also Matt Yankee. Yep. For issue 8, it's Paul Rend, and the last issue, Daniel Kuna, who's also the colorist for that issue as well. Now, pretty much. Oh, and also the variant covers. I should talk about the cover for issue 7. I have got to talk about this. I can't stop talking about this. This is something I really got to bring up. There is a variant cover in here done by the awesome Alex Ross, and it's a homage to Captain America Comics #1. Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is basically a homage to Captain America Comics #1. Sorry for the glare, but this comic is just pure greatness at its finest. Also, there's another variant cover right beside it with every single Captain America, every single person who's actually put on the costume and carried the shield over the past 75 years. Aside from Steve, you got Jeffrey Malice, who actually was the 3rd Captain America. You have the Spirit 76. Now, Patriot is this guy here. That's Patriot. I think this is Spirit 76. There's also William Burnside. Now, this guy here, the guy with the look like with the weird looking hat, that's Spirit of 76. He was only Captain America for a year. This is according to one of the retcons they did for the Captain America. Good retcon, by the way. And the guy with the shield next to him, I think that's supposed to be the 2nd Bucky. Which he was actually a ball boy for the New York Yankees. I am not kidding. His real name was Fred Davis. They wrote it because Captain America disappeared in 1944, so they had somebody take over the role of Bucky in Captain America. So the Spirit 76 took over the role of Captain America, and Fred Davis took over the role as Bucky. And he remained Bucky until 1951. Well, about halfway through the tenure of Jeffrey Malice when he was Captain America, who was replaced by the original Golden Girl, who is, I kid you not, the aunt of General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Yep. I don't recognize anybody else. I think this is supposed to be Super Patriot right here. This guy over here in the corner. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be Super Patriot, which, it's never been officially confirmed. It's been suggested that John Walker, aka U.S. Agent, that he was Super Patriot, but it's never been officially confirmed. But this by far is a great variant cover. Now, overall, what is my rating for this particular trade? 10 out of 10. This book is awesome. I highly recommend it, especially people who are fans of Captain America. And here's the thing. I love this series. I don't know why people are not picking it up. Buy more of this series. I really want the series to continue. 10 out of 10. Awesome. Alright. Next up is probably not 10 out of 10. Amazing Spider-Man Worldwide Volume 3. Collecting issues 730 to 733. Material from 719 and Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 19. Now, why do I refer to it as those issues numbers, despite the fact it says 1215 in issue 1? Because that's the actual issue numbering that the series is currently under. Now, in my honest opinion, unlike with the previous trade, where the story was pure garbage, well, the first arc was pure garbage, the second one was just boring. This one, I kind of felt as though was much better. And, by the way, Alex Ross also the covers in here, and it's, obviously, now this one is co-written, this one has 2 writers on it. There is, Dan Saw and Crystal Gage. Crystal Gage writes the last couple issues of this thing. And the artwork is done by Gustapi Kalamaki. I think that's how you pronounce the first name. I don't know. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but your artwork is awesome. And of course, you have the covers by the awesome Alex Ross. Yeah, heck, even this cover is Alex Ross. And yes, Iron Man does appear in the book along with Miles Morales. Now, this is sort of a semi-follow-up to the Secret Wars miniseries when it comes to Regent. Regent is the main villain of the storyline, which is called Power Play. It's a simple 4-part story that I honestly felt as though was, in my honest opinion, the series starting to get a little bit better. That's my honest opinion. After having 2 straight bad story arcs in a row, I guess Slott was like, okay, I put out 2 crappy stories, and people are not liking it. Let's make the story series better. That's probably my thinking when it comes to it. It's basically Iron Man and Spider-Man team up to take on Regent, which I do kind of agree he is not that good of a villain. And one thing I do praise for this thing is finally we get a chance to see the return of Robbie Robertson. When this story came out last year, for Robbie Robertson, this has been the first time since 2013 I've seen this guy. I mean, what the heck? Where the heck has he been for the past 3 years? Yeah, because these issues came out in 2016. I think these came out around just prior to Civil War II. On the covers when these are coming out, these referred to as Road to Civil War II. You may be implying maybe they're going to have issues of the series tying to Civil War II. Nope. It has nothing to do with Civil War II at all. That tie-in stuff was relegated to a mini-series done by Crystal Gage. If the library gets their hands on the miniseries, I will review it. Honestly, the series had great artwork, but it was just probably Crystal Gage's excuse to get rid of Clash. That was really the whole point of it. And by the way, Clash is absent from this storyline. He has not been seen in the Amazing Spider-Man series since the first arc. It's kind of the same thing with Prowler. 2 characters who show up from the first arc and then have 3 arcs in a row where these characters do not make an appearance at all. And of course, Prowler does show up currently, right now. He showed up in the arc that came right after this. And currently he has his own series, which I think is pretty good. But first you have Spider-Man and Iron Man take on the Ghost. You have Mary Jane Watson later on. While Iron Man and Spider-Man battling Regent. You have her put on the Iron Spider costume. First time it's actually put on somebody who is not a clone of a character. Yeah, because for some reason, and I'm not sure why this was, for those of you who remember the Avengers Initiative series, there was this character named MVP, Michael Van Patrick. He was killed off in the first issue, but I guess they couldn't leave his body alone, so they cloned him in 3 people. I'm not kidding. They made 3 clones of him, and they put him on the Iron-inspired suit. As of currently, 2 of them are dead. One, of course, is still very much alive, and they were part of the New Warriors lineup that preceded the current version that recently showed up in the pages of the series done by Chris Yost and Craig Kyle. Great series. Highly recommend you track it down. It only lasted 12 issues, surprisingly. But for here, yeah, it's just basically Slott just doing Renew Your Vows. The first one, the second one has nothing to do with this. It's like he's taking that story and sort of semi-remaking it for this particular arc, because people love that miniseries. So what does he do? He brings back Region and have him do pretty much the same thing. Kidnap all the superheroes to take their power so he can take over the country. Seriously, that's really his plan. And his plan is simply exactly the same. He writes it pretty much exactly the same as he does in the original miniseries. Here's one unique difference. He actually loses. Yeah, he loses. And then it's never shown on panel, but apparently off panel, all the superheroes they kidnapped basically gave him a 50-on-1 beatdown off panel. I'm like, really? Why couldn't you show this? A villain that everybody despises. Heck, even the readers hate this villain. He is not that good of a villain, and yet, yeah, prior to this, Slott had been teasing this villain. For the first 11 issues, he'd been teasing him now and again, like, when are you going to get to him, Slott? And then you finally get to him. And he does the same thing he did in the Renew Your Vows series. Same exact thing. But he actually gets beaten. And the heroes all live. They don't die like they do in Renew Your Vows. And it's something, though, that somehow Region was able to beat Thor, Miss Marvel, all these heroes. I'm like, how the heck was he a beat freaking Thor? Heck, even Blue Goblin questioned this too. Like, how the heck does a character like Regent, a fairly new villain, beat Thor, the God of Thunder, or in the case of this one, the Goddess of Thunder? Oh, and by the way, this is the cover for the first issue, and it says that the all-new Ultimate Avengers are going to guest star in the first issue. Guess what? That's a complete lie. The all-new Ultimate Avengers don't guest star in the first issue. They appear in this arc, but they don't appear in the first issue. They appear a little bit later on. They appear in issues like parts 2 and 3 and a little bit of issue 4 of this storyline. But yeah. But the one thing I gotta to admit, though, is that this was actually better than the previous one. Not by much, but at least it was a lot more interesting, and it wasn't pure garbage, despite the fact that this thing kind of started out as a dick measuring contest between Spider-Man and Iron Man. But it did get better, and of course, it did end while leading into Dead No More, which will be in Worldwide Volume 4. And that took up about a few issues. Despite the fact this one be better, the artwork is great. The story is a heck of a lot more better than the previous 2 arcs. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Simply because it's just an improvement on the previous arcs. Okay? Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode number 339 and Doubleshot number 268, where I am going to do 2 DC trades, and they have both the same writer. You'll find out which trades they are in the next episode. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.